Browns Nation, this is one of those stories that stirs up a lot of emotions. Just when it seemed the Johnny Manziel chapter was a thing of the past, new comments have thrust the whole discussion back into the spotlight. Whether you loved him, supported him, or felt frustrated by how things played out, there's no denying this is one of the most debated stories in recent Browns history. And following these recent statements, fans across Cleveland are weighing in once again. But first, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Now, let's break down exactly what happened and why this controversy has resurfaced. The latest comments from Johnny Manziel have reignited one of the most frustrating chapters in Cleveland Browns history, and they have Browns fans talking all over again. More than a decade after his disappointing stint with the franchise, Manziel has made it clear that he still holds resentment toward the organization. Speaking on the Nightcap podcast, he admitted that instead of letting the past go, he has decided he will always root against Cleveland, even saying he hopes the Browns lose every season. Those remarks immediately sparked a strong reaction because they reopened old wounds that many believed had already been left behind. The criticism did not stop there. After ESPN personality Tony Rizzo discussed Manziel's comments, the former Browns quarterback responded on social media with an emotional post, arguing that his time in Cleveland was doomed by far more people than just himself. He insisted he has already accepted responsibility for many of his failures, but also pointed fingers at the organization, mentioning former first-round pick Justin Gilbert, former head coach Mike Pettine, and even claiming that not even Tom Brady could have succeeded with the Browns roster from that period. Before eventually deleting the post, Manziel made it obvious that his frustration with Cleveland remains as strong today as it was years ago. That argument immediately divided opinions. While nobody can deny the Browns struggled during those seasons, many fans believe Manziel's comments ignore one important reality. Cleveland certainly had problems throughout that era, but blaming the franchise alone does not explain everything that happened. The discussion quickly became much larger than one quarterback because it forced everyone to revisit what actually went wrong during one of the darkest stretches in team history. Former Browns Pro Bowl tight end Gary Barnidge even came to Manziel's defense. According to Barnidge, Johnny was not the biggest problem inside the locker room. He explained that Manziel simply was not ready to become an NFL quarterback and probably should not have played so early in his career. Barnidge also suggested that the coaching staff handled the situation poorly, and even mentioned that if different decisions had been made, Kyle Shanahan might still be coaching the Browns today instead of leaving after that season. Those comments added another layer to an already emotional debate because they came from someone who experienced that locker room firsthand. Still, there is another side to the story that cannot be ignored. The transcript highlights several examples that critics believe demonstrate Manziel's own responsibility for how everything unfolded. Questions about his maturity followed him before he even played his first NFL game. His draft night celebrations, public behavior, and later off-field struggles became recurring themes throughout his short career. Eventually, those issues grew serious enough that he entered rehabilitation, and later the Browns released him. Perhaps the biggest question raised by many observers is simple. If Cleveland alone was responsible, why did no other NFL team commit to giving him another long-term opportunity afterward? The discussion also includes comments from longtime Browns offensive lineman Joel Bitonio, who reportedly stated that Manziel's character concerns existed before arriving in Cleveland and were not created by the organization. At the same time, the transcript acknowledges that the Browns have failed young quarterbacks in other situations over the years. That makes this conversation especially complicated because both realities can exist together. Cleveland experienced organizational instability, But Manziel also faced personal challenges that extended well beyond football. As the Browns continue trying to build a brighter future with a new generation of players, these renewed comments from Manziel have once again reminded fans of how painful that period truly was. Instead of celebrating progress, the conversation has shifted back to one of the franchise's biggest what-if stories, leaving supporters debating whether history could ever have unfolded differently. After hearing everything that's been said, from Manziel's accusations to the defenses offered by former teammates and the criticism from others, who do you believe deserves the larger share of responsibility for how his Browns career ended? And that's exactly why this debate refuses to disappear. Every time Johnny Manziel speaks about Cleveland, the conversation comes back to one simple question. Was he failed by the Browns, or did he fail himself? Based on everything that has resurfaced, there are arguments on both sides, but the timeline makes it difficult to ignore what actually happened. The organization certainly made mistakes during that era. Coaching instability, poor roster construction in several areas, questionable front office decisions, and constant turnover created an environment that was far from ideal for developing a young quarterback. Those problems are well documented, and Browns fans know them better than anyone because they lived through those painful seasons. However, the transcript repeatedly points out that many of Manziel's biggest obstacles were already present before he ever took a meaningful snap in Cleveland. His reputation coming out of college included concerns about maturity and commitment, and those concerns only became louder once he entered the NFL. The report references incidents that occurred immediately after he was drafted, long before anyone could realistically blame the Browns for his development. It paints the picture of a player who entered the league carrying significant baggage, making it increasingly difficult for any coaching staff to maximize his enormous talent. One of the most telling moments discussed is the fact that after his release, no NFL franchise was willing to make him part of its long-term plans. If the league believed Cleveland had simply ruined a gifted quarterback, another organization likely would have invested in rebuilding his career. Instead, teams stayed away, suggesting that concerns extended well beyond what happened inside the Browns facility. That remains one of the strongest counter-arguments to Manziel's recent claims, because it shifts the focus away from one franchise and toward the broader perception around the league. The discussion also revisits ownership decisions from that period. According to the transcript, Jimmy Haslam's decision to draft Manziel has long been criticized as one that prioritized excitement and publicity over football reasons. Looking back, some believe selecting a player surrounded by so much hype and so many warning signs was one of the defining mistakes of that era. The Browns endured years of losing, including the unforgettable 1-15 and 0-16 seasons, creating an atmosphere where every failed decision carried even greater consequences. Those years remain some of the hardest stretches Browns fans have ever experienced. But perhaps the biggest difference between then and now is where the franchise appears to be heading. The transcript argues that Cleveland has finally begun building around younger talent with stronger leadership and fewer off-field concerns. Instead of constantly chasing headlines, the organization is trying to establish stability, accountability, and a healthier culture. Whether every move ultimately succeeds remains to be seen, but the belief expressed is that today's Browns are in a far better position than the team Manziel joined years ago. That may be why so many fans have struggled to understand why Manziel continues revisiting this chapter of his life. More than 10 years have passed since he wore a Browns uniform, yet every new interview seems to reopen the same debate. While he insists he will never forgive Cleveland, many supporters feel they've already moved on. They remember the excitement when he was drafted, the hope that surrounded his arrival, and the disappointment that followed. They also remember watching a franchise desperately searching for stability while dealing with constant distractions on and off the field. At the end of the day, history cannot be rewritten. Johnny Manziel will always be remembered as one of the biggest what-if stories in Browns history. A player whose incredible college success never translated into an NFL career. Whether fans believe the Browns share part of the blame or place the responsibility entirely on Manziel, one thing is undeniable. His comments have once again reminded everyone just how turbulent that period was for the organization. Now the focus shifts to the future, where Browns fans hope the franchise finally leaves those painful memories behind for good. What do you think about everything Johnny Manziel said? Does he have a legitimate point, or is he refusing to accept responsibility for how his NFL career unfolded? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and click the video that's on your screen right now. That's where you'll find the latest Cleveland Browns news and updates first, and you won't want to miss what's coming next.